Hello and welcome to Contractor Outlook newscast from the coffee shops. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and we are here to really talk about what is happening in construction overall. And that means knowing the history, really having some interesting guests who can talk not only economics, weather, but about contracting and motivation and really what it takes to win. And today I am so honored to have Rocky Bleier here to speak to us not only about construction, but about award-winning football and a career that spans several decades that is so inspirational. So, Rocky, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Heidi. Nice to be with you on this Memorial Day weekend. Can I say that?
I know.
Yeah, no.
We are so close to the 3-day weekend. I can't wait.
Yes, I know it.
Well, I would love to start out with an introduction. So I know everyone knows your name, but I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about let's just go through your career, what you've done, and where you are today.
Okay, fine. I'll start at the beginning. Now, I was born in a small Midwestern town. For those my name's Rocky Bleier, as I made mention, and formerly with the Pittsburgh Steelers for 12 seasons back in the 70s and so on. But my story really goes, and as I had made mention, I grew up in a small Midwestern town, Appleton, Wisconsin, and had the opportunity to continue my education and went to the University of Notre Dame back in the 60s, and under the leadership of Ara Parsegian. And got a chance to play football there and get a great education. And because of the success of that team, I always tell people you get recognized for your contribution to that success. And because of that, I get drafted into the National Football League by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, as I tell people, I said I was not their first choice.
It worked out well for them.
I was the 417th person picked in the draft that year. I was a 16th round draft choice, but from my point of view, you have to understand is that there were 17 rounds. At least I was not the last guy picked. And so I thought, wow, I might be able to make this team. And then people said, well, how'd you make the team back then? Well, do you remember who played for the Steelers in the 60s? That's how come I made the team. Nobody remembers who played for him during that period of time. And so I got a chance and I made the team and I got a chance to play 10 games of that first season in 1968 when there was this conflict that was going on in the Far East and called Vietnam. Yes. And for those of us who lived through that period of time, the draft was viable. And like everybody else, I got my draft notification. And one thing led to another thing, and I got drafted into the armed services and eventually wound up in Vietnam with my unit. And after about 4.5 months in country, we were in a conflict with a military movement that was taking place where the Marine Corps, up in I Corps, Marine Corps was pushing down the Vietnam Army, and we were retaining force. And anyway, that led to a conflict in which I ultimately got wounded, shot through the left thigh, and a grenade blew up through my right foot, knee, and thigh, and through that day. And so the prognosis overall was that I'd never be able to come back and play this game of football again. But given opportunities, and this is what, when we talk about the construction company, we talk about life, we talk about what you do with those opportunities. And I always tell people, I said, I was fortunate. I got damaged and so on. Prognosis was I wouldn't be able to come back and play this game because of the injuries. But in my mind, it was like, well, I didn't lose an arm or a leg or a foot or anything. And, and having played sports through most of my life up to that period of time, there are some lessons you learn. as you
Yeah.
take with you through life. And one of those lessons was that I don't care who you are, if you grow up, think about this. Growing up as a kid, you're playing in the backyard, you fall down, you scrape your knee, you twist your ankle, you might break a finger, and it hurts, and you go home and mom, kisses it, or you go see the doctor and it heals, and you're back out playing again, And
You get back up.
You just pick it up and you keep going. And so in this case, it was like, all right, fine. As I said, I didn't lose a limb, and I thought, oh, okay, fine. And it took some time. And given opportunities, and so just given opportunities and having a ownership of the Rooney family, and so I came back and they bought me a year. I mean, they said if he was good enough to serve our country, let's see what our doctors can do. And so I had another operation. In that year, I came back. They put me on injured reserve. And so, as I said, I had another operation, came back the following year, made the taxi squad, which is a developmental squad. So they bought me 2 years to heal, 2 years to get bigger, stronger, but you have to do something with that opportunity. And so I did. I got bigger and stronger and faster. And I came back in 1972. And so I made the team again. And so, I was, as I tell people, I said, I was the leading ground gainer during the exhibition season. Okay, fine. So when you're trying to make an impression and given, so I never carried the ball that season at all. In 72, Franco Harris, my running mate, eventually came in as a rookie that year and dominated the running scene. But that was okay. I was playing special teams. And then 73 came back again, made the team, got to carry the ball once that season. And then came back in 74. Now, you have to understand, like in our lives and what we do, for me to come back in 1974, after the 73 season, in all honesty, I quit the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, because in my mind, my future, or to compete again, I was going to have to fight with every free agent, draft choice, rookie, person who was on the team again, and I just didn't think that it was fair. Not that life's fair. I thought, well, maybe my life's going in another direction. I did come back. I did make the team. I got a chance to play, maybe not to the level I thought, but that wasn't part of the deal, and I left the team. Sometimes we have outside influences within our lives. Unbeknownst to me, Andy Russell, who was a linebacker for us and also captain of the Steeler team when I was there earlier, gave me a call. And I was living in Chicago, and so he said, he was coming into Chicago. He said, let's get together. I hadn't seen you since the end of the season. It's just, let's have dinner. Let's be great to get together. And well, I'm not going back. And I declined. And he pushed, and I declined some more. And he pushed some more. And then he asked me the question, why? And the only thing I could blurt out was, I quit. I'm not coming back. And he said, you can't quit. If you quit, what you have already done is that you've already made a decision for that coaching staff. Do you like them well enough to make decisions for them? He said, no. Your responsibility, if this is what you want to do, is that you come back and you make them make a decision. You back them in the corner. You give them every reason to either keep you or release you, but you don't cut yourself. The reality of this game is that we're all expendable. The reality of this game is we all can be cut at any time. But if this is what you want to do, then you don't cut yourself. And maybe it was just the arm twisting I needed from an older brother I didn't have, and I went back. And everything I had perceived did take place, and I had to fight with every free agent and draft choice and rookie once again to make the team. Leading a ground gainer, just in the exhibition season. Thank you very much.
I love it.
It was good enough to make the team. And the reason I was the leading ground gainer, and I tell people this in all honesty, wasn't because of the fact I was bigger, better, faster than all the other running backs. It was a simple fact that I played more than anybody else during that period of time. I carried the ball more than anybody else during that period of time. Given those two simple statistics, I better be the leading ground gainer during that period of time, because all they were providing for me was what? An opportunity to be able to make the team. And they had to keep me. And I was the fifth running back out of four. at the beginning of the season. When unbeknownst to us, Franco Harris, who had mentioned before, our starting fullback, got hurt. The backup became the starter. I became the backup to the backup. Wow, I'd never been there before. And so with renewed vigor, played that first game, second game, and all of a sudden the backup gets hurt. And I'm inserted in the game. As a fullback. And so I'm in this game, and my running mate breaks 143 yards, scores. We have a lead. We go in at halftime. We go over assignments, adjustments, and I'm thinking to myself, who's starting the second half? Maybe those guys that got you the lead in the first half. And we get to start the second half, and as a team, we win that game. Following week, everybody's still banged up. As a team, we win that game. The week thereafter, it's a Monday night game, an extra day of healing. Franco now becomes healthy. Dang it. And so we have our pregame meal before that game. And as we said, we have a breakout group. And Dick Hoke, our backfield coach, says, okay, fine. Franco, you and Rock will start tonight. Oh, I was quite confused. I didn't know how we both could play the same position. But it dawned on me I wasn't going to play the fullback position because Franco was. I was playing the other running back position. No, nobody told me that. I wish they would have. I'd been better prepared going into that game. But but we started and we won that game. So we started the following week and we won that. We started the remaining part of the season. We win the season. We go to the playoffs. We win the playoffs. We go to the Super Bowl. We win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And we play 6 more years together. And we win 3 more Super Bowls. And in 1976, Franco and I became the second set of running backs in the history of the NFL, each to gain 1,000 yards rushing.
Wow.
In the same year. And after 12 years, as I had made mention, I retired. So the whole kind of concept or what the lesson I learned are just obviously not to give up, but also opportunities that exist. Now you have to do your part. You have to do your work. You have to do your homework. You got to, and the reason I got a chance to play wasn't because of my size or speed. 2 things I do not possess, but because of one talent. And Chuck Knoll our backfield coach, said, listen, you have a weakness in your backfield. Who is your best blocker? And he said, Bleier. He said, then start him. One talent. And I tell people this in the fact that we all have a talent of one nature or another, different than each and anybody else's. And it's really our responsibility to be able to define what that talent is, to bring it to the workforce, to bring it to your companies. And because we all can't do everything, so you have to find out what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are and work around them as you best possibly can. And so that was my start and my opportunity to be able to move on from there.
I love that story. I heard you told that when I saw you at the Midwest Roofing Conference, and I love hearing it again because so many of us, there have been those times in our careers, in our life where we just were like, done, I'm quitting. But to hear you come back and 3 Super Bowl rings, I mean, wow, that is just so cool. And then to take what you did with all of your success in football and then bring it into construction. So you got to tell us that story. So how did you get into construction?
So anyway, the train, it didn't happen overnight, obviously, so it took, it took some time, but it was an opportunity. So it was an opportunity that was created in I'm going to go back to 93. I have to remember. The federal government came out with a set aside, service disabled veteran-owned small business set aside for veterans to be able to get into the construction business. And and like everybody else, there's always somebody that says, hey, maybe you should do this. There's somebody that gives you the push or gives you the opportunity. I'm not that bright I didn't come up in the construction business. And so, but my 2, my 2 brother-in-laws, were our engineers, and they have their own, company, and they do deep foundation construction and so
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
But there was an opportunity that arose, and so that possibly could fit this key, and so they said, "Hey, what do you think about getting into the business?" And so they became my mentor, a little bit, and so we started Rocky Bleier Construction Group at that time. And so my first job was, the first job I got a call from the federal, the federal building downtown Pittsburgh, okay, that had was doing an entrance. They were doing HVAC in this entrance of their building, and so it was programmed as a set aside for service disabled people. This was one of the first ones, and so I got a call and said, "Would you come down and take a look at it?" And I said, "Oh, okay, fine." Okay, fine. And so I went down, and so I'm going, okay, what do I know about HVAC? Nothing. And so I called a friend of mine. I called a friend of mine who was a good friend of mine who happened to be in the HVAC business. It just happened to be. And so I called him and said, you come with me. Okay, fine. And so I opened the door, and talked to the people. And so he looked around and so on. He gets all the information that we need. And so we go out, and so then we go out. I said, okay, how much are you going to cost? How much do I have to pay you for doing this? So he gave me a price. I mean, it was under $10,000. Okay, fine. My first job was under 10. So I called up and I said, this is what we can do. This is the price. And they said, oh,
right.
Okay. I said, and who else is bidding? They said, it better be a good price because you're the only person. Anyway,
oh, perfect.
But that was the first start. And that, just was a stepping stone, into that whole arena. And so like everybody else, you have to, start building, okay. You got to start building. So we took on a role all of our own, and then we started. I said, okay, fine. It's like sports, okay, or it's like ownership. So it's like playing for the Steelers. Okay, it was like Mr. Rooney was the owner, so he owned it. He wasn't the coach, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't the general manager. So you got to get a general manager, you got to get a coach, that knows this business and bring them in. And so, like everybody else, you reach out to people that you think can do the job or not. And I make this comparison because for the Steelers, it took 40 years to get to a position to get into the playoffs. I mean, they never won in 40 years. And so all of a sudden, our learning curve in the beginning, it was, we did some jobs and we got some, people and opportunities, and it at least was a foundation. And so as you grow, as you get bigger, you add more people, and can you manage these people? And you get a project manager coming in, and you get a superintendent on the job. And so all of a sudden, so we started to get some direction, and went through a couple general managers along the way to develop this, until you get to a point where you get the right people. And it's about getting the right people involved. And so I was very fortunate they came available as our director of construction services, Jim Kephart. And so, and I mentioned Jim because in the now 5 years that he has come aboard, we have turned this company around in the right direction. Jim, military person as well.
Yeah.
Fought in Iraq, was a Purple Heart recipient, unfortunately, like myself, but had been in the construction business since he was 18 years old, and he was in the Corps of Engineers when he was in the military. So he brought this experience back. More importantly, what he brought was his contacts. What he brought was the people that he had worked with in the past and the relationship that they had. So that leadership quality became very important. Understanding the industry, understanding the people and what needs to be done. And so our growth and our focus, all of a sudden started to change. And it wasn't, and the whole idea is that, okay, fine. If you want to be the best, you have to have the right people. So you have to have the right people to be able to support what you want to be. You got to have a vision of what you want to become, and then you build it around it, and you bring the people in. But you got to get everybody else to buy into what that vision might be. And, in the construction business, it's doing the best job. It's really doing the best job for your client. It's doing the best job that you can do on time, getting the project done on time, within budget, and so on. So, not cutting, you're not coming in cheap. You're not cutting in prices and so on. And it's come to be, and over the last 5-6 years, a recognition that the numbers we present, the package we present, is going to be what it's going to cost you. Okay, this is what it's going to be. Whether you like it or not, people come in cheaper, whatever it might be, but ultimately you're going to have to pay for it somewhere.
Change orders, everything,
and so then you start going, okay, fine. We can get it done. We get it done on time. We get it done. But our biggest concern is the safety issue. Our whole concern is about people. Subcontractors that we use, as well as our own people that are on the job, is the number one criteria to take care of them. And I don't care, what the deal is or what it's going to cost. We're not trying to cut corners, but that becomes we'll close the job down if it's not being met, if those criteria aren't being met, and we find our people, and we've unfortunately had to let people go who make the wrong decisions or the bad decisions, but not taking care of their people that are on the job. So, it's fared well for us. I mean, because you build a reputation. You build a reputation saying, okay, fine, this is what you want to get done. And there are companies out there that we compete with that do that, and it's not that we're unique, but I think those fundamentals in the construction business is that it's not necessarily always about pricing. It's not necessarily about cutting corners or the cheapest in doing this, because ultimately you can't do it for the cheapest. And, and it's really the end result of what that contract is and the safety of the people that you do it with and getting it done on time and within budget. Okay. And the only time sometimes in working with government is an education process on our part to them. I'm saying, okay, fine. Your methods and means aren't catching up with what needs to be done in today's society.
Right.
And so that has been important. That has been important because that education is that they've come around to kind of say, all right, we understand that. We understand it because it's always the lowest price, get it done, whatever it might be for the betterment of the people, whatever. And so we had to, and I think partly as they had to educate themselves in how it operates from a general contractor's point of view.
Yeah, when you talk about that, it really educating that customer and how important it is the right price, the right time. But I love what you said about safety. It has to be safe. You have to take care of your people and culture. And you talked about that a lot. I really love, one of the things when I was listening to you at the MRCA show, I was making some notes, and you just mentioned it a minute ago, was you talked about your four critical points to build a team and to have a successful business, whether it's or a successful team in sports or success in the military, is leadership, talent, vision, and buy-in. I love that. And you really brought all three together, but brought this, you need these four things, no matter if you're in the military, if you're in sports, or if you're in business. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think that is really, yeah, I think those have become fundamentals, and I think they're very important. And I think sometimes and I look back on my athletic career or playing career, but I also look at my military career, because all those things fall into place along the way. Yeah, and I say, to some degree, I was very lucky or fortunate to have those experiences from different coaches or coaches that, and I remember when I was with the Steelers, my first head coach with the Steelers was like the old Steeler.
Yeah.
It was okay, fine. He was just trying to get through. And then Chuck Noll comes in, and all of a sudden he changes the standard. It was much like when I was at the University of Notre Dame. My coach was Ara Parsegian. He changed the course and direction of the team to win that. We won a national championship. They hadn't won a national championship in 15, 20 years. And so, but you being a part of that, being a part of the team, is that you get good leadership, and when you take care of your people, meaning that you teach them the fundamentals of the game, and you're there to support them, and you give them a reason to be a part of. And so I look at players that I played with that were walk-on players that did not get a scholarship, that held the dummies, were blocking, were backups to, there were backups to the backups, but they were part of a success. They were part of a team. They might not have been necessarily instrumental in winning a game or so on, but in the preparation of getting there, in the preparation of having a team reach its potential. So I say that because it's like office work. Those people who are in the office that are doing the contracts, that are following up, all that is necessary, they're as important as your workers that are in the field. They may not got the recognition, but it's that team effort. And it's the same thing that, so you learn in sports what a team is. You got a leader who teaches you the fundamentals of what needs to be done to help you become a better player, gives you the patting on the back and gives you support to become that player or that opportunity, or to be a part of this team. And then, and then you go have success. Military is the same way. It's from the basics, working together. You work as a unit. So you got your squad, platoon, you got your company, but it's, your squad, the guys you're with that every day that have your back because you got their back. And so all those things that I kind of learned, along the way, really work well in business, and I think become very important in business and having that direction. And so again, and I say, being at the right place, right time, finding the right people, and giving the leadership, giving talent, and then is setting a goal. You say, we want to be the best. And let's define what that best is within the confines of what you do. Okay. Then you got to get everybody to buy into it, Right. And the best way to have them buy in by taking care of their needs, and what they want about their families and how important they are to the whole organization. And I don't care what you do, you are important to the success. So, and that just takes that takes time, but they can see it. The new people that are hired or coming in, and if it doesn't work, well, we'll see how. Yeah.
But I mean, when you think about that buy-in and you circle back to safety, right? To everyone going home safe to their families. That again is so true in everything that you've done in your career, is whether it's military, sports, or business, it's still caring about the people and that everyone goes home safe. And that doesn't always happen, but it's to have that as the vision and as part of that culture of your business, I think people will start buying in when they know that that's really honest.
And people do it. So when they know that you're taking care of their interests, that they're taking care of you, they're taking care of you, their family and their kids, and that you become important in this whole scheme of things. They will, bend over backwards. They'll work on weekends.
Right.
They'll do what's necessary to be able to hold on or maintain this job, but also because of the fact that they have pride, and so they also participate in the success of being a part of that organization. And so you get recognized and people say, oh, you work for this company. Oh, well, that's pretty good. So there's a certain expectation of that.
Of everything. I love that. And so one of the things, I can't believe, Rocky, our half hour has just flown by. It's been so great. But I would love for you to share with everyone, okay, you still have your construction company and obviously it's doing very well. But you are also a speaker. You are speaking at different things. You have a lot of great information out there. Can you share with everybody how they can follow you? Maybe how they can learn more and share what you're doing now.
I wish I had a podcast. I wish I had, but I don't. So, no, it is. You can go to my website, right? That's the handoff. You're like, hey, yeah, go to my website. It's somewhere. My website, rockybleier.com. That's what we're doing.
We wouldn't want to have you in our speakers bureau with a directory too, so people can find you on Roofer's Coffee Shop, because you are an inspiration to everyone. And I have to tell you, when I told my brother that I was talking to you, he was over the moon. It was a big deal. And so you inspire a lot of people. Thank you for everything you do.
Heidi, thank you. And thank you for having me on the program. I appreciate it.
Oh, I love it. I love your story and I love the inspiration for construction. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. How cool was this, huh? This is pretty awesome. Please follow Rocky Bleier, see what he's doing. Very inspirational. Also, you will be able to find him on our speakers bureau on Roofer's Coffee Shop. So watch for that directory coming up so you can get more information in the future. So one last time, Rocky, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you. And please check out all of our Contractor Outlook newscasts on all of the coffee shop websites under the RLW navigation. Be sure to subscribe and set those notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be seeing you next time on Contractor Outlook Newscast.